Denver 7 On Demand is brought to you by Ferguson and BAC Appliance Center, the best in bath, kitchen, and lighting for your home.
Good evening. I'm Ann Trujillo with the latest from Denver 7. The sun is down. The snow will be falling over the high country all night. Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson is tracking it. And Mike, a few flurries for the metro as well.
We're going to miss most of the storm, Ann, but the mountains will get pounded 8 to 12 inches over the higher elevations. And we can expect some snow to work its way out onto the plains overnight tonight. It'll be kind of a mix of rain and snow. Farther to the northeast, 1 to 3 inches of snow possible by morning, and anywhere from 8 to 12 to 3 to 6, depending on elevation in the mountains, the higher amounts above 10,000 feet. As far as the next few days, Friday clears out pretty quick in 52, turning colder Saturday. Snow develops Sunday, and I think we get 2 to 4 inches of snow Sunday night and Monday, and much colder next week with temperatures only in the 20s for highs Monday and Tuesday.
Thank you, Mike. 1 year ago today, 17 people were killed in Parkland, Florida, murdered by a young man many had long believed to be troubled. It's a story far too familiar and seen too often in our communities. And since that day, 30 states have passed new gun legislation, often in Republican-controlled governments. Most tightened restrictions. A handful, like Wyoming and Idaho, actually loosened them. Well, in Colorado, what's known as the Red Flag Bill would let law enforcement take guns away from people deemed at high risk of harming themselves or others. It failed last year over concerns that it violated constitutional rights. Tonight, it's back with more support than ever. Denver 7's Jennifer Kovaleski goes 360.
It is difficult. It never ends. It never goes away from you.
It's a tragedy that shook our state and rocked the Douglas County Sheriff's Office to its core when Deputy Zach Parrish was killed in the line of duty, New Year's Eve 2017.
We lost a great officer, a promising officer, a father, a son. We lost somebody who had the potential to make a huge difference in this world.
Rewind 6 years earlier, more heartbreak inside this Aurora theater when a gunman killed 12 innocent people. Fast forward to now.
So important for the people of the state of Colorado.
Douglas County Sheriff Tony Spurlock.
I mean, I'm wearing Alex's jacket right now.
Along with freshman Representative Tom Sullivan, who lost his son in the theater shooting, are both back at the Capitol. They say fighting to avert further heartbreak in Colorado.
So I'm not doing this for Alex and my family. I'm doing it for yours.
Democrat lawmakers are bringing back the controversial Red Flag Bill. Let's begin this 360 with what that means. It would give family or law enforcement the ability to raise a red flag and temporarily take away guns from someone in mental health crisis. Atul Sheriff Spurlock, a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, believes could have saved his deputy's life.
Sheriff's Office!
They knew the man who shot Parrish was in crisis and had guns, but couldn't do anything about it.
And I believe today that he would not have had that firepower, he would not have had that ability to take the life of Zach Parrish and wound 4 other officers.
The bill is named in honor of Parrish. Similar legislation failed last session in the Republican-controlled Senate.
We need to break the glass. We can't keep doing the same things over and over again when they're failing.
For Spurlock, this is about saving lives.
If we were going to say you take your guns away and you never ever get them, then I'd say I can't stand for that. But that's not what this bill says.
And this is a simple thing to do.
For Sullivan, this is personal and part of why he became a state lawmaker.
Until this jacket falls off of me, I'm working every day to do this.
I didn't think that last year's bill could get any worse, but apparently they've made it even worse.
Meanwhile, Republican lawmakers are screaming over changes to this year's bill.
I think it's just bad policy.
House Minority Leader Patrick Neville is crying foul over what he calls a lack of due process and believes the bill will add to the stigma around mental health.
It requires you to prove your innocence. So first off, there's no due process in the first initial stages because you don't even get a chance to defend yourself.
This year's Red Flag Bill doubles the amount of time a judge would have to consider appeals and gives them a year to decide whether to return someone's guns. The biggest change lies with the burden of proof, which is now on the person in crisis. A change the bill's sponsor says came from stakeholders, which brings us back to Spurlock.
The respondent will go to get mental health care. That expert, that person, would be the one that would come in their defense.
Absolutely, I have some concerns.
Republican Senator John Cook is also opposed to the bill. He calls it an overreach and points to the recalls that happened the last time Dems passed major gun legislation.
There were 2 senators that were recalled and one resigned before she could be recalled. So they should be concerned about it as well because this is, we're talking about a person's Second Amendment right, a constitutional right.
At the same time, a recent poll showed a red flag bill had 60% support among Republican voters. So no matter which side of the argument you side with the balance of power shifting to the Democrats in both the State House and Senate, many say this year will be the year we could see gun legislation pass at the Capitol. Jennifer Kowaleski, Denver 7.
And we know there are plenty of opinions on this, and we want to hear from you. We want to know what you think. Email us 360@thedenverchannel.com. You can also leave a comment on Facebook or Twitter. With the exception of a few students who now have to get back to studying, we can all be happy the Denver teacher strike is over, right? The district tells us 3,600 of its 4,700 teachers were back in class today. The rest probably still sleeping off last night's marathon session. Attendance is also way up among students today, with roughly 64,000 of the 70,000 showing up. Now, DPS is still working out exactly how much this strike cost the district. Denver City employees could soon be getting a raise. If approved, the minimum wage will rise to $13 an hour in July, then up by $1 a year until 2021, when it tops out at $15 minimum. 83% of the employees who would benefit work for the city's Parks and Rec department. City Council still has to sign off on this agreement. For the last week, we have waited to hear from the Fort Collins man who fought and killed a mountain lion. Well, today he finally shared his story, and it did not disappoint. Here is Travis Kaufman in his own words.
I ended up hearing some pine needles rustle, like a stick break, and I turned around and just was pretty bummed out to see a mountain lion chasing after me. I stopped and I threw my hands up in the air and I started shouting, and unfortunately the shouts didn't deter it, so it just kind of kept running and lunged at me, grabbed onto my hand and wrist, and from there it started to claw at my face. I was able to get on top of it, pin its back legs, was able to kind of shift my weight and get a foot on its neck. Finally stopped moving, and then jaws opened, and I was able to kind of scramble back up the hill and get the heck out of Dodge.
And that's not the half of it. Kaufman was also asked his weight, his height, if he thought Chuck Norris would have fared better. You can watch it all right now on thedenverchannel.com. This has been your Denver 7 On Demand update. Thank you so much for joining us. Check back here later tonight for another update and download the Denver 7 app for breaking news and alerts. I'm Ann Trujillo.